Alrighty. Let me make sure that's running correctly. Apologize, there's a lot of moving parts right now. Okay. We are live. Welcome back to Tailosive Tech, live on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. So, I don't put betas on my primary devices because I've done that in the past and it's resulted in things not working that need to work for my work. Essentially, I didn't put the public beta on my MacBook Pro because that's what I edit all my videos on, but I realized I have this perfectly decent iMac Pro right next to it. It's not really doing much. It's basically just become my YouTube machine / charge hub. It's actually charging a bunch of different stuff. So I hope you guys are doing well. I just installed the public beta on the iPad and the iMac literally a couple minutes before going live because this was by far the most interesting feature that they brought to, I don't know what you specifically say it was brought to. Was it brought to iPadOS or macOS? Either way, best, most exciting feature I was looking forward to on the Mac side and on the iPad side of things. They didn't do anything with the latest iPadOS that I was interested in aside from Universal Control Plus. macOS Monterey, they added a couple neat things, but I wasn't as excited for any of those features, whether it was the hard resetting mode or the AirPlay functionality. I've only used that a couple times, and it's fine, I guess. It's kind of basic. I was really excited for this, so yeah. iPad trackpad can't do Mac gestures yet. Well, that's the thing. I don't even have my Magic Keyboard case, as you can tell. But this is part of the reason I sold my Magic Keyboard case was I wanted to be able to, control the iPad through the mouse and keyboard that I already had on my desk. So that's what I was excited to test. And I've just updated them. And I'm not entirely sure of what feature or which way I'm supposed to activate it is, because I've seen other people say that it doesn't require any additional setup or feature tweaking, and I'm like, I put the iPad right here. I guess I can move this a little closer, huh? I put the iPad right next to my iMac, and I have the mouse here, as you can see, but if I try to just put my mouse at the edge of the screen, nothing really happens. So I'm thinking either this isn't working with my iMac Pro because it's too old, or it should be working and it's just buggy and I'm not really sure what I have to do to activate it. I'm slamming my mouse against other ends of the computer. I have this little icon that's turned blue. It says link keyboard and mouse to Andrew's iPad, which is kind of interesting. So I wonder if I'm doing something wrong, but just before we went live, literally a couple minutes before I hit the go live button, I slammed my mouse against the side of the screen and I started to see the iPad mouse pop up. It just began. So I'm not sure if I need to bring something up here. If I type, it's not doing anything on the iPad. It just works, right? Try other sides of the screen. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I wanted to find more settings for universal control, and this is the most I could find. Let me zoom in on this just a tad so you guys can see it a little better. Yeah, I have the back camera right here. And there's not really any universal control settings other than if you press advanced, and then I've discovered I have everything turned on. So it says, allow your cursor and keyboard to move between any nearby Mac or iPad. That's all this says beta right next to it, of course. Your cursor and keyboard can be used on nearby Mac or iPad signed into your iCloud account. Okay, we're both signed in. And on top of that, push through the edge of a display to connect a nearby Mac or iPad. Allow the cursor to connect to a nearby. What I can't figure out is how do these know which orientation? How does Monterey know that I'm trying to come on to the left side of the iPad? Clearly, I don't think it does because I'm trying to do it right now and it's not working. So I don't know. It briefly worked for a split second and then it went away. So something tells me it's not necessarily a compatibility thing. It didn't move very much, but it started to work, which got me excited. And I was like, okay, before I do any more of this, let me go live so you guys can experience, because I've never messed around with this. I haven't put the betas. People are saying restarting both devices. Okay, well, I think I just restarted. Here's another bug I'm already noticing. So right here you have the iPad and the iMac kind of overlaying each other. I don't know why, but if I move this around to try to make it accurate, the iPad is on the right side, it just jumps right back. It doesn't want to move. Maybe if I turn some of these off, will it let me move? No. Okay, it always wants to snap back to that. I don't know why the iPad is on top of the screen. I can't try it with a different Mac because this is the only Mac I have that's on the beta. So I don't think it's going to work. I don't want to put the beta on my MacBook Pro because I've had betas break Final Cut for me in the past. So most people in the chat are saying give it a restart. I actually just restarted the iMac Pro, although I haven't restarted the iPad other than, of course, the update has been installed. So I'll do a hard reset here. Putting the iPad right by the iMac on the same level. They're on the same level. I don't know. I don't know how to get them any closer. They're on the same desk. I could hold it like that, but then I'm not going to be able to use the mouse very much. So, sounds like after all this time, the beta is still very much unfinished. At least maybe it's more troublesome with the 2017 iMac. There might be something in the neural cores or in Apple Silicon that makes it easier if you do it on a more recent generation Mac. This is 4 years old. Add display should also work. Try to move the iPad on the other side. I could. It's just I'm never going to use it if it's behind my MacBook. So I'm just restarting the iPad right now. It's still in beta. Although I don't know why it took so long for them to roll it out. I'm still confused why they were able to unveil it and announce it last summer, and it's still, at least from my experience and at least from other people's experience in the chat, they're saying it's still pretty buggy. All right, iPad Pro has restarted. Let's see what happens if I try to give this a shot. Oh yeah, I just turned off that feature. Wait, let me find displays. We'll go to advanced. People are saying add a display. I think that just extends it. It's not universal control. Yeah, that's just called sidecar. Can I move that around? Yeah, okay. I don't know if that applies to sidecar though. I'll turn that off then. Advanced. Yeah, push through. Oh, okay. Sorry, I got excited. That was just the mouse. I'm gonna turn off sidecar, not to be confused. Let me unlock this first of all. Okay. Yeah, now it's doing that thing where it overlays the iPad, but I can't move the iMac. People are saying, I don't know what moving the iPad is going to do, because I don't believe that data is giving the iMac any new info. Like, is it constantly telling it, like, now I'm on this side? Because it's not like the iMac has the U1 chip in it or anything. Yeah. No, that doesn't do anything. Dang. Come on. I've waited so long for you. Oh! It worked! Oh my god. It's working. Oh, it was working. Hold on. Oh, I'm on. It's working. Oh, cool. All right, we've got one mouse. It took freaking, how long is that? Oh, almost 9 minutes to get working, but okay. Latency feels pretty low. Wow, I haven't seen the iPad cursor show up in a while, so this is cool. Nice. Okay, let me open something. Nice. We got the podcast coming back next week. Go back to the home screen, and then when I want to jump back to the iMac, boom! Wow, that's quick. All right, we're back on the iMac now, and now we're on the iPad. Wow, it just crossfades really quickly. I wonder why it took so long. I was playing with it for probably 10 minutes before it started working, but it is working now. Oh, that's so nice. Wow. I don't notice, it's surprising. I actually don't notice any latency. Let me make sure you guys can see the mouse. This is cool. All right. Look at that. Jump it over here. I like how continuity is still there. Let me pull this up. just have some windows or stuff to interact with. Okay, that's normal. And then boom, we're back over here. Checking emails and whatnot. Boom. Oh, that's so cool. Just like magic. I love it. Oh, that's so nice. Oh, I'm excited for that to come out to the public because then I can put it on my MacBook Pro. But yeah, now I can bring stuff up. You want the calculator app? You can just type numbers in here. There you go. Wow. There's your math calculations. Amazing. 500. 800. Yep. It works like that. The calculator is now back on. Ooh, there was a little pop-up or something. What was that? What was that? Had a little keyboard. Oh, that's interesting. If you guys can't see it. It's like at the very bottom, there's this microphone. Like that's, I think, your dictation and your keyboard button. Show keyboard, show emojis, keyboard settings. Oh, wow. This is so nice. I could get used to this. You can swipe through the iPad and then jump right back over. To me, this makes the Magic, at least for me in my use case, this makes the Magic Keyboard unnecessary. Yeah, restart did the trick. What's so great about this feature is you can control it. It just unifies the Apple ecosystem that much more because now you can control your Mac and your iPad with the same mouse. You don't have to like switch to the iPad or let go of your mouse to change something on here. You know, I can just be doing something on my iPad, whether I'm working on an application or a video thumbnail or scrolling through this kind of stuff. Like I have all of that accessible right at my fingertips, which is really nice. So, man, I could get comfortable with this. I could get used to this pretty easily. Man, why is it taking so long though? That's the real question. Like I would have loved if this was a thing when Mac OS and iPad OS actually came out. It's beta update only. Can you drag tabs from one to the other? Oh yeah, I should try that. Let me pull something up. Let me pull up Safari on this page. We'll get like a template thing going. Okay. Let me try this. It makes the iPad... Well, you could make the iPad a second monitor, but this is more than that. It's more like letting the iPad be what it is, because Sidecar... I've used that in the past, and it can be somewhat buggy. I think you're able to... I think eventually you're supposed to be able to drag and drop files. I'm not sure if that feature's working yet, and also I need to have some files I can drag and drop. I actually haven't used my iMac Pro for much lately, because I'm doing everything off my MacBook, but here, let me try. I don't know if tabs work. Let's try this. Okay. 9 to 5 Mac. No, I don't think it's good for that. That's probably make more of a sidecar feature, but I can navigate the web on here. Nice. This is the 2018 iPad Pro, and this is a 2017 iMac Pro. So that's something else I should have mentioned is like the incredibleness of this software feature and the fact that these are both fairly old. Like none of these are very recent generation devices, and now there are new features coming out that make it so much easier to use both of them. I really like that. Because this is 120 hertz. The latency is very, very small, as you can see here. It's a very responsive. There's maybe... I'm trying to see if I notice any, and I'm honestly having a hard time. Wonder like how this works. Like, is it connecting via Bluetooth to my mouse? Or is the iMac sending a mouse signal to the iPad via Bluetooth? Or are these both communicating via the mouse anyway? I don't know. That's weird. And can I do it on any part? Oh, okay, yeah. See, sometimes a setup I had before my MacBook Pro that I was curious if it would work was like this. Sometimes I'd have my iPad beneath. Does it know? No, it doesn't. No, don't open Twitter. That's okay. Opens Twitter anyway. So if I go up, it just brings down the notification screen. I have to go to the side. But if I go to this side, yeah, it doesn't jump back to Mac OS when I do that. Huh. Use wired mouse, please. Why? This is better. This works for me fantastic. Okay, so yeah, it wants to be like this. I'm curious. This is probably too bright. And this light won't turn on for some reason. That's nice. At the moment, it's only beta. Final update maybe in March. Do you need to change the display configuration in system preferences? It won't let me. That's the thing. I think that's part of the beta bug. See, let me punch in here. Display set. Oh, wait. I think it automatically did it. Advanced. Yeah, before these were overlaying each other. Now, so what if I put it down here? Okay, now it's working. For some reason, that was being buggy. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Ben. He says, "Can you still use the Magic Pencil in Universal Control mode?" The Magic Pencil? Do you mean the Apple Pencil? You should work for Apple. You came up with this term, Magic Pencil. Now that I've moved the iPad to the bottom, oh, it does work. Wow. So I could be daddling around with Mac OS doing something on my iMac, and then when I want to check on the iPad, I just go zoom. Then it's down here. I can start using this. Let me adjust this so you can see the bottom. There you go. Check that out. Check on Tailosive EV streams. Check on Tailosive Tech streams. Where are the new shows? I know. When are we coming back? To see if it needs Bluetooth or not to work. Oh, try to turn it off. Is that what you're saying? Could you drag video files? Well, I think I have. Oh, that's interesting. So like, yeah, I can move up with my mouse here to the top of the iPad to activate Control Center, but it's actually touching really close to the Mac in the background. Look at that seamlessness. There's like a little bit of a delay for you guys because the angle the smartphone is at, it's covering up the display a little bit. But for me, it's more like this. Now you're at my POV. There's like nothing between the iPad and the Mac, and it's just, oh, wow. That's really weird. Make mouse big, mouse small. Jump back in. Wow, that's cool. Wireless sidecar is awful. Yeah, I've had bumpy experiences too with wireless sidecar. That's why I usually leave it plugged in. I wonder if universal control works better when it's plugged in, because the iPad is technically plugged in via USB-C to the iMac. I guess there's an easy way to figure out if it changes anything. There. Now it's no longer connected. Yeah, it does the exact same thing. I don't think it's relying on any wired connection of some kind. That's cool. Wow. That's just another really great ecosystem advantage right there. That is so cool. I could get used to that. Let me put it back like this. I think that's easier to demonstrate. Okay. Probably back ultra wide. Scroll wheel does not work on MX3 when controlling another Mac. I'm using an M1 MacBook Pro and an M1 Mini. Anyone else have these issues? I don't have an MX, so I can't tell you that. There you go. Oh, I'm so glad this is finally here. I'm sorry. I'm probably fanboying a lot right now, but I can't help it. This is why we stay in the ecosystem. Another wall in the garden, right? Yeah, I'm an Apple sheep too. I normally don't do betas, but this feature I was so ready for, and I don't have a developer beta account anymore, so when I found out it was on the dev beta, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then this morning I found out it was available on the public beta, and I was like, I've wanted to try universal control for so long, so why don't I just try it now? Because I wanted to do a live stream today anyway. It's Friday, and I was like, the iMac Pro, if the beta is really bad, it doesn't really matter because this will still be my main editing machine. In the iPad, I use it for video thumbnails and not much else. I've put it on betas in the past, and it's been okay. Hey Drew, hope you're doing well. I just graduated from med school. Wow, congratulations! That's a big accomplishment. I hope you're treating yourself with something. really has me considering switching from Samsung ecosystem. I just see myself using it like this a lot more often now, especially because I use it with Discord a lot. There's our notifications, there's the news. So the iPad, because it's so useless, has just become like this really easy to access Discord machine. I can just come in here. Oh wow, the keyboard. Testing universal control live right now, by the way. Oh, that's so nice! Oh, that is so nice. And it has the predictive text. It even has predictive text already right there. Now I don't have the whole keyboard popping up with the iPad. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I probably look like such a nerd right now, and I just don't care. Let's see. You have to initiate on the Mac first, I think. Yeah, the keyboard works too, of course. Let me open Safari. Let's see. I have so much power now, I don't even know what to look up. Yeah, how many grams of fat are in a jar of peanut butter? I don't know why I would look that up, but I can now without having to touch the iPad anymore. Don't need the Magic Keyboard case. You don't need it. You can still utilize all the keyboard and mouse features of iPadOS with your onboard. You could do this with the trackpad on the MacBook too. Try to drag and drop a large file. Let me find one. I don't actually know if I have a large file. I have pictures, but there's not really a desktop equivalent on the iPad, right? It's just a home screen. Maybe I gotta move this. You guys, this is such an Apple branded stream right now. You guys are live via my iPhone 13 Pro Max, so you're looking at me through the ultra wide lens on the iPhone. You're looking at me talking about an iPad and an iMac, not to mention the way I get this phone up higher off the desk. It's a HomePod. You're literally sitting on the HomePod right now. There's so many Apple-esque things going on. But the iPad doesn't really have a desktop, so I'm not sure what happens. But I've got some pictures here in downloads. So I'm just going to pick up a picture. I've lifted it. I'm going to drag it. Oh, wow, it does show up. It even has the preview. So if I drop it somewhere on the home screen, it vanishes. Did it go into the Photos album? That I don't know. Let me check. I can't tell. Well, actually, this might have already been here. So I don't know if it's working. Here, hold on. Let me check. I don't know what else you guys will see in here, so let me just be cautious. No, we're good. Never mind. I was like, didn't want to. We took some pictures on the outside of my house the other day, so I was making sure they're not on here. Yeah, I turned off iCloud, so we're good. All right, nothing to see. If I drag... check the Files app, I see. Would it go into Files, even though it's a JPEG? I should find a picture that's not on the iPad. Maybe I'll take a new one. I'll take a screenshot. I'll take a screenshot on the Mac of Universal Control. Why not? Pick it up, drag it. Yep, the preview of it's there. If I drop it, did it show up in Files? Oh god, what just happened? I tapped Files and it left the productivity folder. Okay, I think that's a bug. You're not supposed to do that. Can we get out of jiggle mode, Craig? Files. Recents. I don't like this arrangement. So many recents. Doesn't that kind of defeat the point? On my iPad. Recovered file. I don't see it in Files. And I don't see it in Photos. Maybe I need to check a section. Library. Imports? No, it's not in imports. Weird. Okay. Your stream on the iPhone 13 Pro Max is clear. Okay, good. I'm glad it looks good. Check settings on iPad under AirPlay. Why would it be under AirPlay settings? Does the iPad Magic Keyboard case work on the iMac, or is it just the iMac accessories that work? As far as I can tell, I've watched other videos of people using Universal Control. I believe if you have a keyboard case with your iPad, you can move the mouse over and start using your Mac. So yes, it is bilateral. You have to drop it directly into files or photos. Okay, let's see if you're right. Oh, I was still on the iPad. I tried to take a screenshot, and it screenshotted the iPad home screen instead. Whoops. All right. Lift this here. I'll drag it right over photos. I don't think that changes anything because I'm hovering over to the Photos app and it's not changing anything. Yeah. It did not bring the screenshot into Photos just by lifting it. Oh man, they broke my home screen. I hate it when this happens. There. Now I can fix it with my magic mouse. Does it go into iCloud? I didn't see it in iCloud. No. That would be weird. And my iCloud's full anyway. But yeah, I don't see it in recents. Oh yeah, let's do list. That's much better. Today. Yeah, it's not in recents. So maybe the file drag and drop thing isn't working too well yet. What's the difference between this and Sidecar? Sidecar is extending your macOS display. So it basically just turns the iPad into an external monitor. This is legit controlling the iPad, as in you can open the apps that are already on your iPad. You can open banking apps. You can basically ignore the iMac if you want and just treat this as your dedicated keyboard and mouse setup if you want to, because the iPad does support it now. So I can open, it seems to, man, that's a bug. Every time I click on an app, it like removes it from wherever I had it arranged. Let's see. I want to open YouTube, go to subscriptions. I can scroll through the videos. There's Marquez. So I don't have to touch the iPad anymore. And as soon as I want to go back to using my iMac for something, maybe it's playing a video, I just lift the mouse up. Oh yeah, sorry. I moved it to be on the side. You can change it if you want it to be directly below the Mac. I just don't have it configured right now. Try opening the Files app or the Photos app, then drag it in. Oh, okay. Let me try that. Photos is open. Picking up the file, dragging the file. No. The file doesn't get carried over when Photos is open. It just kind of gets frozen on this side of the Mac. Huh. Yeah, it just gets frozen. I don't think it's that feature, at least as far as I can tell, isn't working with pictures. Maybe there's some other kind of document. You have to have the files app. Let me try it here. On my iPad. Nope. It always, as soon as I try to drag a file from downloads onto the iPad, I mean, I can always just airdrop it if I wanted to. While on Files, yeah, I just tried to drag it into the Files app while on the Files app. The photo just freezes on the Mac. It could be a beta issue because I do think the long-term goal is for that feature to work. Yeah, I tried drag and drop with files open. It doesn't do anything. At least with pictures. Maybe it works with some other kind of file. This is a video. Yeah, video doesn't work either. I don't know why a picture wouldn't work, but a video would. What about iPad to Mac? Oh, that's an interesting idea. Let's open Photos. Here's a Cybertruck picture. I'm going to pick it up. Move it over. Oh, hey! That worked. Interesting. Okay, maybe that's part of the beta issue, but I can drag a picture. Here's a meme I made the other day on the iPad. If I don't want to select the text. Go away. Okay. If I pick up the meme on the iPad and I lift it and I drag it over to the Mac, boom, it moves. So that does work. That feature works. Try to move a picture from the iPad into the Mac. Yeah, we just did that. We're good on that feature. Maybe I should try a video. There's a short little video clip here that I took while we were in Puerto Rico. 5 seconds. So if I pick up this video, and keep in mind, I don't have iCloud photos on or anything. So this isn't just saying like, oh, access this photo from iCloud. Like, I turned all that stuff off. So this is stored locally. That video is not on any other device. So if I pick up this video and drag it, wow, drop it in. Is that like a inverse of airdrop or something? It's like loading. It's like, oh yeah, okay, it just finished. It bounced. So now if I open up the video, yeah, they moved it. It's right on the Mac now. Oh, that's so cool. Interesting. So I think the bug of moving files and videos from the Mac to the iPad is not working yet. But moving files from the iPad to the Mac is working, which actually would be super helpful for me because I do a bunch of video thumbnails on here, which I then move onto my MacBook. So I could legit use that a lot. Does it feel smooth for the most part as in the beta stable in all other regards? Well, I literally just installed the beta like 10 minutes before we went live, so I haven't had much experience. Not even 10 minutes. I think it was less than that. It was more like 5 minutes. Like, as I was scheduling the live stream and as I was tweeting that we were going live, the iPad was not done installing. Like, it was the progress bar. And then once it did install, I fussed around with it for 10 minutes probably, maybe 15, trying to get the feature to work. It wouldn't work, and I restarted the iPad and restarted the iMac, and then it started working. So I would still say it's very beta, very buggy, not working super reliably. But when it does start working, the latency is very low. Very, very little latency. Mike's pinging me. No self-promotion. That's illegal. Wow. Yeah, even with 120 hertz and stuff turned on, latency is really low. And then, of course, switching between the iMac and the iPad is very seamless. So once it's going good, I guess is what I can say. But the process of getting it to work definitely took some time. I don't know if the rest of the beta is much buggy. I mean, I'm not noticing anything. Maybe I should open the camera app or something. It's always weird activating the camera app with your Magic Mouse. That feels weird. Portrait mode. Thank you. Remember the iPad has portrait mode? You can't drag Safari tabs between the iPad and Mac, at least from what I've... Oh, well, I've tried Mac to iPad. Maybe I should try iPad to Mac. Oh, you can. Okay. Interesting. So that did work. I just did it. Let me move the camera so you guys can see this a little bit better. Oops. Hit the space bar. All right. So we've got a tab. Let's pick a different tab. Let's open Mac Rumors. All right. So we have a tab go. I don't know why you'd want to do this, but if you've got a window open on the iPad and you want to move it to your Mac, you just pick it up, drag it over, and it'll switch to that tab. It replaces the tab that I drop it over. Okay, Silicu says it's definitely a bug on my M1 Max MacBook Pro. Dragging files to the iPad works. Okay, so it's probably an issue with just the iMac being so old. Maybe they haven't optimized for it because, you know, this is so old, I say, from 2017. In the computer world, that might as well be old. So let's see if I can add a tab here. Yeah, move it over. No, it seems like you can only replace an already open tab. I don't really see an option to add it to my existing tabs. Oh, maybe if I hover it over the plus? No, that does nothing. Okay. I can replace the Mac Rumors tab with this Tasmanian tab. I don't think it worked that time. Let me try again. Pick it up, move it over, drop it. There it goes. Now it opens that link. Okay. So yeah, Safari tabs do work. At least somewhat. Maybe if I try to move this one over. Yeah, it won't let me move from the Mac to the iPad for some reason. Interesting. So that's probably a bug on my end. Seems to be not doing that for other people. Hey, Chris Otham, thank you for being a member for 5 months. Wow. When I moved the tab over the plus button, it didn't seem to do anything, and it won't even let me use universal control if I try to drag it over from the Mac. So still buggy. It's definitely not feature complete. It's because you're dragging and dropping the URL, not the actual tab. Well, I'm grabbing I don't know how else to grab the tab. That's the gray part. You have to grab that. There's no other thing to grab. Yeah, I'm trying to. I don't know how you can not grab the URL. If I hover it over the plus, yeah, it just disappears. If I hover it over the plus, just nothing happens. It won't move at all. So yeah, that's not not done. That's for sure. I'm glad it's in beta at least. That's better than not at all. The Magic Keyboard on the iPad also controls the Mac super nicely. That's cool. I guess if you want, I don't feel like that would be as common as a thing. Like wanting to control your Mac from your iPad keyboard, but I don't know. Some people might want to do that. Definitely buggy, but seems decent so far. Excited for when it's complete. Yeah, it's like they're in the final stretch now. We're in the end game now. Like we can see how close it is. Um, the Magic Keyboard on the, oh, sorry, I just read that. It doesn't feel like you moved a tab from iPad to Mac. It feels more like you copied the link over. Kind of, yeah. Again, the moving tabs from iPad to Mac thing, I don't really see much use in because of the continuity feature. Like if I was walking around my office or I was walking around the house using my iPad and checking some website on here, and let's say I just pulled up Tesla's website because you buy a car like you do every day. You pull that up and then you sit down next to your iMac and you're like, hey, I want to continue this web browsing experience on the Mac. I would just I would just pick up my mouse and tap the continuity app and it brings up the web page that way. So I don't think the whole dragging tabs from iPad to Mac is that common of a thing. To me, it would be super useful for Discord just because being able to control this keyboard and not have to disable the whole iPad because Sidecar is buggy. Like Sidecar, when it's over a wireless network, the connection is a little spotty because it's technically like a wireless AirPlay signal. And if you do it wired, then the iPad is it's still not like full res. Like it doesn't look 120 hertz to me when I use Sidecar. Whereas this gets to retain, it's not replacing the operating system that iPad OS is already rocking, but it still lets me type. And yeah, it feels incredibly responsive. I don't feel any lag between typing on here versus here. So that just keeps the ecosystem moving. And then when I want to change something on here, because the iPad's the bigger screen, so I'm more likely to have videos playing and stuff going on over here. And then I want to jump back and check this. That's what I use it for. I'm probably going to use it for that right now, just because being able to type from the keyboard and let the iPad be back here just frees up a lot more desk space, and it lets me, I don't know, just not have to keep a virtual keyboard up all the time or not want to reach for the iPad keyboard. Instead, the iPad can just stay where it is and I can just work on it from here. Sidecar is limited to 60 hertz, so I can preserve my 120 hertz while still having keyboard and mouse control. You can't drag around windows or tabs. You're actually grabbing the link and pasting it in the Safari window. The same behavior can be replicated if you drag a link from Notes app on Safari to Safari on Mac. Okay. So you're just pasting the link then. There's not really a way to drag a tab then. I turned Bluetooth off completely on my MacBook Pro and Universal Control is still working. Oh, interesting. Maybe I should try that on here. What happens? Bluetooth. Oh, well then the keyboard and mouse won't work. Maybe if I turn it off on the iPad, you can see what happens. I'll check it here. Right, Bluetooth is on right now. Now I'm going to turn it off. Oh, still works. So Bluetooth is completely off on the iPad, and it works exactly the same. So I guess it's not using Bluetooth. What is it using? You're controlling, nothing is occupying the smart connector, right? You have no keyboard case. You have no trackpad attached to this thing. Bluetooth is off, and yet I'm still controlling it wirelessly. So it must be Wi-Fi, right? It has to be. What else could it be? Let me turn off Wi-Fi and see what happens. Yeah, okay. It stopped working instantly. So there's your answer. It's all done over Wi-Fi. Interesting. But I assume it would still work. Okay, now it's freaking out. I turned Wi-Fi back on and it's like, ah! No, it doesn't want to do it. Come back. Wake up. Wake up, iPad. No, I don't think does the iPad have NFC? I don't think it. I know the iMac doesn't, and I don't think the keyboard and mouse have NFC. No, NFC is short range. That wouldn't work for keyboard and mouse. This would work even better if Mac has an M1 chip, maybe in the future. Yeah, I assume maybe features work more seamlessly if you have an Apple Silicon Mac with. I'm surprised that universal control can still work even when you're. Why doesn't it want to turn back on for some reason? I'm trying to activate it again. It doesn't want to. Huh. Maybe I need to restart the iPad. That might be another bug. If it loses Wi-Fi connection, then yeah, it won't do it. I don't need notes, thank you. Maybe it uses Bluetooth to set up. Oh, that's true. Let me try. Bluetooth is back on. Oh, yep, it kicked on back again. Well, the setting popped up at least. It's not letting me do it, but I'm trying. It says Andrew's iPad and iMac Pro right next to each other, but if I move the mouse over, it won't let me go. Come on. Do I need to move you down? Move you back. Oh, it's getting spotty again. Oh. Okay, so I moved the iPad beneath. Sorry, you probably can't see this as well. I moved the iPad beneath the iMac, and then it kicked on again. It started working. So I can move around stuff now. But if I try to move it again, will it listen? No, it's ignoring me. It's like, no, you can't put the iPad there. I guess that's illegal. Yeah, so it uses Bluetooth to start the connection, but Wi-Fi to actually maintain it. That's interesting. But it's still very buggy because it's not... Okay, now I just moved the iPad to the left side of the iMac, and it sticks. But if I try to move the iPad to the right side... Okay, now it's sticking. It's weird. It's picky. Now it's working again. Cool. All right. I'm going to use this quite a bit now because I can control two devices with my keyboard and mouse. For me, dragging files between the two seems to work a lot better when it's going from the iPad to the Mac than it doesn't seem to work at all going from Mac to iPad, but other people in the chat says it's working for them. So that's probably just an Intel thing. Let's see. It uses the upper part of your face, but it's... Oh, yeah, I was planning on doing a video later about that, but I'm live streaming on my iPhone right now, so I can't demonstrate 15.4 for you. Zolotech had trouble dragging and dropping things. Yeah, it's definitely not done. I think it's safe to say that. They've definitely got some ironing out to do, but just the fact that I was so excited for it when they first unveiled it way back in June... It was June of 2021, and now we're in January, and I'm experiencing it for the first time, and I'm like, okay, it's pretty nice. So the mouse just disappeared on the iPad. I'm wondering if I move the mouse again. Yeah, so it remembers. It has memory. If I move this mouse again, it's like, yep, you were on the iPad. It doesn't pop up on the iMac. It pops up wherever you left it. So, man, I love how simple it is to switch between the two. That's really nice. The parts that it does well, it does really, really well. How's your iMac handling it? Are the fans ramping up? No. I don't think anything you do makes the iMac Pro fans rev up unless you open Final Cut or OBS. Then it starts getting loud. But listen. It's dead silent. I don't know if you can see much under there, but... No, I don't think the fans are on at all. Or if they're on like the lowest setting. The iMac Pro's not freaking out about it. Oh, that's interesting. I was like, it switches to portrait mode for you guys when I move the phone around. It works great between my M1 Macs. That's good, yeah. I'm excited for this to come to my MacBook Pro just because this is what I'm using for most stuff. But I've had too many bad experiences with betas on my work computer, so that's why I'm comfortable doing it on the iMac Pro. I don't need this for work. It's just kind of sitting there. Does it keep the iPad from going to sleep if you only use the iMac? That's a good question. My iPad doesn't automatically go to sleep, so I don't know. Um, I could change that actually. Why don't I try that? I have it set to stay on at all times. Auto lock, never. Let's switch it to 2 minutes. All right, so in 2 minutes, the iPad will auto lock. But if I'm using my iMac, then that should, I don't know. There's a little tab in the menu bar. You probably can't see it very well, I'm sorry. But there's a little icon that showed up that wasn't there before. It just looks like a little iMac silhouette, and it says link keyboard and mouse to Andrew's iPad. So I'm still linked, but I'm guessing that if I don't activate universal control, the iPad will shut itself off. But if I do, it resets that 2 minute timer. And that's probably, it's on that little 2 minute timer, and it'll lock itself right here. Let's see. On a scale from 1 to 10, who's your favorite color of the alphabet? 7, probably. Let's see. M1 Pro, MacBook Pro 14-inch, and M1 iPad Pro 11-inch work with universal control seamlessly. Apple Silicon seems better optimized for it. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Apple Silicon is just better optimized for everything. Do they need to be on the same iCloud account? I believe so, at least in the instructions when I set it up. I believe, yeah, it said that they need to be on the same iCloud account. So, yeah, iMac's being used. This isn't locking, though. So maybe being on universal control, as long as I'm connected to the iPad, won't let it turn off. Or is just 2 minutes not gone by yet? Universal screensavers. Oh, that would be nice. Yeah, you can connect the iPad via Sidecar and then just turn on a screensaver, and then it'll be on both. But yeah, it would be really nice to see if universal control comes out to the public. I will just connect my Magic Mouse permanently to my MacBook, and then I would control my iMac and my iPad with one mouse. That would be kind of awesome. Do you know if you can use universal control with 2 iPads and no Macs? Ooh. That's a good question. I don't have another iPad in here, so at least not a recent generation. I have like an iPad 2, but I don't think that's going to work. I don't have another iPad running this version, so that's interesting. I don't know. Maybe. It might. I think you can do it between 2 Macs, right? So why not 2 iPads? Yeah, I'm not sure. My guess is no, because that would require the iPadOS team to do work, and the iPadOS team doesn't like to do work. Let's see. We need someone testing the new Face ID with sunglasses. That's my one major gripe with it. Polarized lenses appears to always fail. Yeah, I've noticed that too. I'll definitely include that when I check out iOS 15.4. Because I do have a pair of sunglasses that typically don't work with Face ID, but I'm also just not a sunglass guy. Once it's released, going from your MacBook to iMac, then iPad will be awesome. Yeah, if my wife doesn't want to move this somewhere else. For now, I think she wants it here, but universal control the world. Yeah. The connection was seamless, like no turning on anything except Wi-Fi. No, I won't say it was instant. It wasn't seamless because I updated the iMac and I updated the iPad, and then it didn't work. So I had to restart the iPad, and then it started working. But yeah, before I restarted the iPad, I was messing around with it for like 10 minutes, and it wasn't doing anything. So once it's working, though, it's really fast. Like I'm darting between the Mac and the iPad, and it's like there's no hold up. There's no latency between, oh, let me load over here. It's like as soon as I move the mouse, it's there. It's as if this is an extension of the iMac's display that happens to now be running iPadOS. When will you get rid of the iMac Pro? Probably when it stops working. I don't really have a need for it to go away. It's kind of nice having a big screen while I'm working on my MacBook Pro. Having a big screen to play YouTube videos and stuff is kind of nice. If my wife wants to do more videos and stuff or work on other things, she'll probably use this and I'll use this. But I asked her if she wanted to move this into the bedroom, and she said no. There's just not a really good place for it in the bedroom. So it's probably going to stay right there. And just being able to control it is going to be really nice. Um, no turning on anything except Wi-Fi. But yeah, the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are already on for both these because obviously I need Bluetooth on to even use the iMac, and I need Bluetooth on the iPad to use AirPods or the Apple Pencil and that kind of thing. But yeah, if you're using universal control, I assume obviously the Apple Pencil, yeah, it still works. So you can still do all of your regular Apple Pencil tasks, and they'll work normally. And just jump to go home. Rip Magic Keyboard for iPad. Yeah, I have no purpose for it now. The only reason I like the Magic Keyboard case was, for one, the little variable tilt adjusting was nice, but also just because the trackpad and the USB-C that goes through the smart connector. Obviously, having a physical keyboard can be really nice over a virtual one. I'm pretty comfortable with the virtual one, but of course, just being able to use what you already have is far more efficient than spending $300 on another keyboard case that's going to sit right next to your keyboard. Am I getting the M1 iMac Pro? I'll probably review it, but I don't have a need to keep it. This is just way too good for me. Can you do it between an iPhone and an iMac? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure Universal Control is not coming to iPhone, which makes sense. Do you really need the mouse control on your iPhone? No, it works with iPad's Magic Keyboard. Let's see. I'll just jump the gun and get the beta just for my own nerdy testing that I like. Yeah, you should always prepare for the worst with a beta. Just understand that there might be something that doesn't do its job properly. I've had that experience with betas in the past. For the most part, it's been fairly stable, other than that one time I got a beta on my Mac and then it stopped exporting videos. I was like, well, this is a problem. That's what's so great. It doesn't matter which trackpad you use. Yeah, you can use the trackpad on your MacBook, or you could use the trackpad with your iPad, whichever. Let's see. Is Universal Control only available for all iPads and Macs that can run the latest OS, or is it only for more recent generation devices? Well, these are not the most recent generation devices. This iPad is over 3 years old, and my iMac is over 4 years old. And there's, they're a little buggy here and there, but for the most part, the feature is working. I don't know if it goes back to the 10.5-inch iPad Pro. I don't have one in front of me to test. I think we have one somewhere in the house, but it's definitely not running. I don't even think it's running iPad OS 15. Universal control with an iPod Touch. Yeah, now we're talking. I want to control my iPod with a mouse. Am I reviewing the M2 MacBook Air? Probably, yeah. When it comes out, I'll give it a try, but I don't plan on keeping it. Idea. Future iMacs accepting Apple Pencil. Only if they swivel down. I don't need a pencil that I just reach out and touch the screen like that. Let's see. Could Microsoft and Google try to implement a universal control-like feature? I'm sure they could. It'd probably take a little bit more collaboration. I mean, Apple is designing the hardware and the software, and they're having a hard time implementing this feature. So if you had two entirely different companies trying to implement it, they might have more bumps, and it might not work as seamlessly. But Apple wants us to buy both Mac and iPad instead of comparing them. Comparing them? I mean, I personally think they would just sell way more iPads in the same number of Macs if they made the iPad far more practical. I don't think by not letting iPad OS get more functional, they are somehow forcing us to buy two or getting us to buy two. It's like, no, I'm just going to keep using my old one. That's that's what Apple is missing out on, I think, is more iPad sales. And if there are iPads that are selling better than Macs, it's because they're more expensive, but they do more. So I don't know if this will work with a 2015 MacBook Pro. That I would need one in front of me to try, and I unfortunately don't have one. Apple's strategy is clear here, and their marketing team and YouTubers both missed the boat and caused lots of user confusion. The iPad Pro is a Mac co-star, not a Mac replacement. Maybe. The problem is they market the iPad as something that can replace your laptop all the time, and Apple sells laptops. So that's why I say it's not. I don't think Apple's strategy is clear, because they went from iPad is all about being touch, all about iPad's all about being this personal touch experience, and Mac is all about keyboard and mouse. And then they started adding keyboard and mouse to iPad, but you also don't have to use the touchscreen anymore. In my opinion, that puts it in laptop territory. And then give it Mac hardware, give it the M1 chip, but then don't give it Mac software, even though it's fully capable of doing far more than they let it. I'm not in favor of software limiting hardware just so that you can preserve the sales of a different product. I think that's dumb. And I also don't think that the iPad would cannibalize Mac sales because it's far more expensive than the Macs it would be competing with. iPad Pro Max M Turbo Sheep. What do you think about? You didn't finish the message. I have an iPad Pro 11-inch and want a second device for college. If Universal Control works with two iPads, I'm not sure if I want an iPad mini or a MacBook. What do you think? I've always used an iPad. Yeah, look around, because I'm not going to be able to test that for you right now, but I would absolutely love to see if Universal Control works between two iPads. I think that would be really, really cool. No, Apple's never marketed iPads as Windows laptop replacements. They've just said laptop replacements. I would agree with you if they said this can replace your PC laptop, but that's not what they said. All they've said is laptop. I believe it still says that to this day. So if you're going to pitch it as a laptop replacement and give it laptop hardware but not give it laptop software, I think that does make everyone kind of confused. I don't consider that marketing clear. I don't see that as, oh, this is very simple and easy to understand. It's like, you don't know what you want this thing to be. Yeah, they're just bragging about how great the dynamic range is, and give it the Thunderbolt port, right? Give it HDR technology, but what can you utilize that with? We're going to give you the Thunderbolt port, but the Files app is still nerfed. The Files app still has a hard time moving certain files, and yeah, look at this. Does that not scream Mac replacement material for you? If they're pitching that you use it alongside a Pro Display XDR at 6K with external SSDs, and this is what Thunderbolt allows for. So no, I still consider that pretty distorted when it comes to what they intend the iPad to be. Yeah, iPads can replace MacBook Airs for some, but there's definitely certain things that MacBook Airs can do and that the iPads can't, that isn't hardware related. It has nothing to do with, the iPad can't handle that. It's like, no, it could. Apple just doesn't want it to. Golden Face, thank you for the super chat. He says, Universal Control is the biggest feature in years. I freaked out the first time I used it. We all now have a use for our iPad Pros. Hallelujah. The iPad Pro has purpose once more. Isn't that amazing? It's funny. Let's see. iPadOS will get more functional. Think we just expected Apple to do everything in 1 year, and Apple notoriously slow with software. It's a lot harder to update hardware than software. I feel like the software should be the easy part. Apple's had a version of macOS running on Apple Silicon for 2 years now, so you're telling me they can't find a way to put Final Cut on here? I'm not saying they have to make all the changes in 1 year. I'm just asking for one feature that we asked for. iPadOS 15 literally didn't deliver a single thing anyone was requesting. All it was like, let's break the home screen, let's break the Today view, and add some dots at the top for more multitasking options. It wasn't giving people calculator or weather or Windows or Pro apps or better file management system. Everything. I was asking for just a little bit of progress, and I don't even think we got that. All we got was widgets now can go anywhere, which is an iOS 14 feature. Let's see. I've tried an iPad Pro 2020 and an iPad Mini, and it does not work. I need to use them via the MacBook. Okay. So that's what it seems to be the running answer right now, is you need a Mac for Universal Control. You can't do it between two iPads. Which I'm not entirely sure why you'd want to. Maybe that's the closest you can get to an iPad supporting external monitor support. I do miss the Today view as well. I'm still upset about that. Putting 3 iPads in a row lets you have an ultra-wide screen. Not really, because of the distance between them, but I don't know how many devices you can control at once. You don't know what they did under the hood in iOS 15? It doesn't really matter what happens under the hood. If they don't do anything on the surface, we don't get to take advantage of it. Back in the introduction of the 9.7-inch iPad Pro in 2016, they directly compared the iPad against Windows laptops, which kind of supports my point. I think they were comparing it to Windows laptops because their point was that Apple's silicon was much better than the traditional PC laptops of the time. The reason that argument doesn't work anymore is because Apple is putting literally the exact same chips in their laptops as they are their iPads. iPad gets M1, MacBook Air gets M1. They're both fanless. They both have Thunderbolt. They both support keyboard and mouse. It's literally just software that's preventing the iPad from doing a lot of things, not hardware. So that I'm not in favor of. iPad is clearly going to remain a Robin to the Batman Mac. That's where it is now. I don't think it needs to be that way, but I guess Apple wants it that way, even though I think they're wrong to. Let's see. I hope the new Airs come in a black color and have black bezels. I'm pretty confident they'll do black bezels. I think the white bezeled iMac was a one-time thing. I don't actually think that was the mindset of all entry-level Macs have to have white bezels. Just because they got rid of the white bezels across all the iPads, even the cheap ones. Even the $300 iPads all have black bezels now. And the argument Apple used for white bezels on the iMac was so that it would blend in with the environment of like, okay, it's in the kitchen or it's in the bedroom. It's against drywall, which is traditionally white. So they just wanted to blend in with your minimal IKEA-looking furniture. And the MacBook Air is going to be used in all kinds of different circumstances. Basically, any mobile product in recent history that Apple's made has had black bezels. And I believe the reports claiming that they're going to have mini LED and a notch, basically, with thin bezels on the MacBook Air. So if you want thin bezels and a notch, yeah, white makes so little sense. I'll be very, very shocked if they do a white notch. I know some people have suggested that, but it just doesn't make much sense in my view at all. Just because with displays with white bezels, there's always going to be a little black line there. And even when the display is off, you would see a white notch. Even when the screen is completely off on the MacBook, the notch you can't get rid of it via software. Whereas Apple has ways of you getting rid of it, and the notch doesn't really cut in on much, and it blackens out with the menu bar and full screen apps all the time. The MacBook Air used to have silver bezels, but not recent designs. Not any design from the past 5 or 6 years. Yeah, the original iMac had white silverous. The original Macs had beige bezels, but they got rid of those. The future AR headset could have a breakthrough universal control feature with the entire Apple ecosystem. I know. That would make me excited for AR if they showed how all the devices could, work together. Did you see the most likely fake iOS 16 leaks? I think I glanced at it for a moment, but yeah, it was from Leaks Apple Pro, so I don't buy it. I could be wrong. I've been wrong on predictions in the past, but I'm still pretty confident black bezels with a notch on the next MacBook Air. That's my guess. I hope they do a white notch. The outrage would be a sight to behold. Luckily, I'm not in the market for a MacBook Air, so even if my worst nightmare comes true, I'll be shocked and I'll be disappointed, but it's like, well, I'm not getting it anyway, so whatever. As someone that used Windows 8, I can't say I want Apple to nerf macOS like Microsoft nerfed Windows. I don't want them to nerf macOS either. I hope no one's... Is anyone in favor of them nerfing macOS? No, just put it on the iPad as an option for those who want it. Just bake it into settings, go at the very bottom, general, a software update, and then you gotta click up to date 15 times, and when you click it 15 times, it gives you an option that says, would you like a dual boot macOS option? And you say yes, and then it goes, are you really, really sure? Because when you dual boot macOS, the touchscreen won't work. And I'll say yes again. And then for those really, really techie people out there that want all of the features their Mac has on the iPad with all of its superior hardware, between the touchscreen, Apple Pencil support, 5G, Face ID, all of the great things iPad has going for it, just... Also now with the software unleashed, you can have one device that's capable of doing so much. Are you going to make a video about unlocking Face ID with a mask on? Yeah, I think so. That's my plan. I believe software is harder compared to hardware. Why do you feel the opposite? I feel like there's more... I don't know. Did I say the opposite? I don't know. I think there's more external factors when it comes to hardware. Like, you can want something to happen via hardware a lot, but if you don't have the supply chains to support it, then it's not going to happen. Whereas software can all be done internally. You don't have to rely on supply chains. You don't have to worry about chip shortages or factories being shut down, or unethical labor practices being practiced. It's like, no, software you can all do. I mean, you can even have that done at home. You can have software engineers working from home. It just takes time and energy, obviously, to figure out software features, and there's more going on with how should this work, whereas hardware is more like how can we get this to work, and how can we build enough of these, and how can we make the quality control good enough. I feel like there's more factors outside of Apple's control with hardware, whereas software is more internal control, which Apple has plenty of money and plenty of people working for them, so I figured the software development wouldn't be as tricky. Um, so I'm not trying to say either is easy. I know software development is tricky and so is hardware, but I just imagine hardware being like, well, we want to put Touch ID on the iPhone, but this supplier can't do it in this for this price, and or we want to do OLED on the MacBook, but the burn-in isn't good enough, and we can't find suppliers that'll do it. So yeah, I just feel like there's things that you hit more roadblocks, which I would consider hard. I'm sure there's roadblocks in software right now with Sidecar where they're like, why doesn't this file sharing thing work? Right, it takes time and energy to figure that out, but at least it's all within Apple's own software team. I never understood why Apple released MacBook Airs in fall after students went to school. Hopefully we see the new Airs this spring. I think because Apple knows they probably get a surge in orders right when the MacBook gets launched. And there's also another surge during the summertime, or right before school starts. So maybe they would rather you buy up a bunch of the old ones because Apple's figured out how to mass produce those more affordably. So they'd rather you buy up a bunch of last year's model. That way the new year comes out and you're like, oh crap, maybe I need to buy that newer one because it's nicer, it has a better chip. And then Christmas comes around and now you've got an upgrade and now you can, sell your old one or something. I don't know. I'm not sure why they do that either, but I know they like having the back to school bundle every year. So they're like, get AirPods when you buy a Mac and that type of thing. And, maybe they don't want to do that bundle with a brand new product. They typically only do the back to school bundle when there's products that they've been manufacturing for a while. How about white keys? I'm not a fan. I've seen Windows laptops and Chromebooks with white keys. I don't think it looks very good personally. It just screams kind of cheap to me. And even though it's a MacBook Air, I get that and it's supposed to be cheaper. I just don't think it's the look. I would rather have an M1 MacBook Air. I think that looks more premium and luxurious. White keys just kind of look like basic, kind of cheap entry-level laptop, which I guess it kind of is, but Apple hasn't done that in a really long time. Even the silver bezeled MacBook Air had black keys. I agree Apple is frustratingly slow, but I don't think them being slow means they have given up. Remember, people thought they gave up on the Mac, and that's clearly not true nowadays. How many years do we have to go with iPadOS not going anywhere before we agree they've given up? That's my question. Because ever since they announced iPadOS was going to be separate from iOS, we were expecting, okay, Apple wants the iPad to become its own thing. And then they gave it Magic Keyboard support, and we were like, wow. And they did that before Quadruple UDC, right? They did it in like March or April of 2020. Thank you for the support, Trash Team, being a member this long. That's very nice of you. But I just mean, like, wow, okay, we've got keyboard and trackpad support, and there were leaks and rumors about, not leaks, I guess they turned out to be fake, but there were rumors of people saying, oh yeah, Apple's got a version of Xcode, and they're going to bring Logic and Final Cut, and they want to revamp the iPad now that it has the same input compatibility, and it has Apple Silicon, which is just as powerful, if not more powerful, than the Intel machines that are running Mac OS right now. And we were waiting. Like, okay, this is the year. They're going to take iPadOS to the next level. They're going to give it a bunch of functionality. Nope. They're just kind of like, some widget stuff, whatever. And everyone's like, still no calculator? Still no weather app? And Craig's response is, it would be too hard to come up with one. We don't know how to do it well on the iPad. It's like, yeah, that would require work and time. That's why I always joke about that would require the iPadOS team to do work, is because of Craig's response. They were like, why don't you give a weather app on the iPad if you give us all this data on the iPhone's weather app, and you give us a big widget on the iPad with all this weather data? And he was like, we would need to find a good way. We don't want it to just be a blown up version of the phone app, and we want to come up with a good way for the app to fill the whole iPad screen. And that he said that like years ago. So clearly it would have taken work to come up with a good calculator, a good weather app, and they just didn't put in the work for it. Um, so they release something, we're like, oh, this is it. Okay, and then it doesn't happen. And then in 2021, they give the same extremely powerful chip that they put in the MacBook Air, in the new MacBook Pro, and the Mac Mini. They now put that in an iPad. So we have Thunderbolt in an iPad supporting 40 gigabits per second. They're literally advertising it here. I'm looking right at it. They're advertising up to 40 gigabits per second bandwidth for wired connections and showing how you can plug in the iPad with a 6K Pro Display XDR and an external SSD and edit things right off of external drives. It's like, oh wow, they really want, they're pitching this hardware is really, really capable. And iPadOS comes around and they're like, now you can put widgets over here. And they spent like 5 minutes talking about iPadOS on screen. So I'm like, how many years have to go by before we go, okay, I think they fundamentally just don't want the iPad to be very practical. They're just inherently preventing it from doing more because they want the Mac for that kind of stuff. So Apple logo and landscape on iPad? Yeah, I think that would make more sense. I think especially the 12.9-inch iPad Pros are probably used in landscape more than they are portrait. I don't know if you read Apple's earnings report, but they showed that iPad revenue was down 14% than expected, while the Mac revenue is up 8%. Coincidence? I think not. No, I don't think that's a coincidence at all. I think that it's hard to justify spending more than $600 or $700 on an iPad. And they have a whole line of iPads that are well over $800, or they have several iPad Pro options that are well over $1,000, some over $2,000, and I'm just like, that is so overkill when you consider what the software is capable of. Yeah, apparently M1 can't support a calculator. The iPadOS team is the few unlucky souls from the iOS team who have to work on iPad upgrades just on Fridays if they show up. That's how it feels, because iPadOS still to this day doesn't feel worthy of being separate from iOS. They're so incredibly similar with each other. There's so little differences between the two operating systems. I don't know why. Like, if you think about all the differences between iOS and macOS, or all the differences between watchOS and tvOS, there's like fundamental UI and home screen and app differences and how everything is designed separately. Whereas iPhone and iPadOS is just like slightly tweaked. It's like, okay, allow for a little split screen here, allow for some little Apple Pencil features here and there, but that's about it. Yeah, I think that the software is great on iOS and Mac. It feels like they're taking best advantage of it they can. And with iPadOS, there's like all this room for improvement. Like, ask people how many things they have on their macOS wish list, right? Like, check for how many more software features do you want your Mac to have? And everyone's like, yeah, maybe tweak this little thing, or maybe this little window snapping tool or whatever. You go to the iPad, everyone's like, oh man, there's a billion things you could add to it. And with the iPhone, yeah, maybe there's just, some people are going to ask for the side loading or the alt store stuff, and Apple's not going to do that. But, there's just little things that you could bring over from Android. But for the most part, I feel like iOS does take great advantage of the hardware. I don't think there's a bunch of more things the iPhone could do if iOS was changed. So yeah, iPad stuck in between. iPod Touch to be discontinued this year. Thoughts? I sure hope so. I've been wanting them to kill that thing for years. It took them 4 years with Mac, so I don't think Apple cares about time. It took them 5 years to give iPad Pencil support on a keyboard. Well, it didn't take them 5 years. You could use a stylus. It just took them 5 years to come up with their own stylus. I wouldn't really compare that to adding software that's already existed for over 10 years. Let's see. iPad had issues with part shortages and got hit the hardest, Apple says. Right. I'm sure that's the reason. It's not because everyone's old iPad keeps working just fine and none of the new iPads do anything that different. I'm still giving Apple the benefit of the doubt. It's pretty clear that iOS and iPadOS 15 weren't what they wanted them to be, most likely due to COVID restrictions. I don't personally see how COVID would impact software development as much. I could understand it hitting the chip shortage and impacting hardware development, but the software can be done remotely and it can be done internally with, you can separate everyone's desks, you can make everyone wear masks or have shields between. I don't think COVID should slow down software development that much. Thank you, Marngel, for your continued support. Thank you, thank you. The iPod Touch could be replaced with a better SE, or the iPod Touch could be replaced with nothing because the iPod Touch is stupid. Just buy an old iPhone. It's much better and cheaper than an iPod Touch. This is not on the Black Magic. We're on the iPhone right now. What specifically are we missing on iPadOS? It's hard to be specific when there's so many things it's missing. I don't know where to begin. External monitor support that's not screen mirroring. That doesn't count. No one does that. Pro applications like Final Cut, Logic, or Xcode. A proper file management system. There's still a bunch of bugs and still a bunch of limitations. Floating window support, external microphone support, external video camera support, all these things that the Mac can do. Proper terminal commands. There's all kinds of things that the iPad could do given the proper software. According to Renee Ritchie, Apple has small teams. They run like a small business. iPadOS team might be the smallest. I think it is too. Thank you, August, for your continued support as well. Appreciate it. Is it the decade where Apple will enter the EV market? I sure hope so, but it's not looking likely. I think Apple's trying to overthink the EV, or they're just incredibly late on it. And just from watching the EV community a lot more recently, making EV content pretty regularly for the past couple of years, Apple is so far behind just for the fact that they haven't unveiled one yet. Like, I've seen lots of companies with established track records unveil prototypes and try to bring them to production, realize how hard it is to mass produce an EV. Like, the fact that we're not even in the mass production of an Apple EV yet is an example as to why they're substantially behind everyone else, to the point that they can't really do anything major. Like, okay, even if they're late, some people are like, oh, it's okay, there's still time, they can still enter the market. At this point, all that's really left for them to do is some kind of like 6-figure sedan. They could do some really high-priced luxury vehicle that's $150,000. It wouldn't be anything that's a competitor to a Hyundai Ioniq 5 or an ID4 or a Model 3 or Model Y. It wouldn't be anything mainstream. It would just be some super crazy rich project for Tim Cook and a few of his friends. So I think they've kind of missed the train on it. I would still love to see. We have a video going up on Tailosive EV actually pretty soon here. Is it done uploading? It is. See, this is what I like about live streaming off of my phone, is that I can be uploading a video on Starlink while also live streaming to you guys. But yeah, there's just too many major things that have already been announced in the EV community, and Apple's so far behind just for the fact that they haven't made an announcement yet. If they wanted to be a major player in the EV space, they should have announced that they were entering it or making a car like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. It could be they come up with something you didn't think about now. With cars, it's very hard to surprise people because you have to contact the right suppliers, and it's not like mass producing a smartphone. It's not like mass producing a tablet or a computer. It's very, very different. I know that people like to think of cars and phones as becoming more similar, but frankly, there's still fundamentally huge differences in manufacturing of how you treat the battery and the management systems and the charging and the charger network. And from what I've read, it sounds like Apple is more interested in doing a self-driving car, in which case no one would actually buy it. There's not really a point in selling someone a car that they can't drive. You would rent it out in certain jurisdictions as a robo-taxi, and maybe they're hoping to figure that out, because Apple's clearly been testing self-driving stuff for a while. But I think they're just hoping to come up with some kind of little taxi service, probably in San Francisco or just at Apple Park, that drives people around. It would be something you pay for by the mile. It wouldn't be like a car you can buy and own. Yeah, there's a ton of missed opportunities. I think Apple missed out. What do you want to see as a new Apple product? Tons of stuff, but absolutely a A dedicated DSLR camera would be fantastic. And smart appliances. I would love an Apple refrigerator, washing machine, or smart home accessories like an Apple light bulb or smart switch or Apple security cameras, Apple drone. Drones are getting really, really popular. DJI is having a lot of success. I think Apple could make a really cool one. I would buy a self-driving car. Why wouldn't I? You could, but I'm saying it wouldn't make as much sense for the company to sell it to you because they would make far more money renting it out as a taxi than they would selling it to you. If they did sell it to customers, you would have to pay a lot for it because a vehicle that's capable of driving people around, basically being an Uber without the driver, is extremely valuable. So there would not be much incentive for the company to sell it to you. But yeah, I want Apple to make a dedicated camera. I want them to make microphone, more tech equipment, just because I think that goes along with their Mac, which makes our tools in audio and video, and we're using Mac a lot. So if Apple made their own tools to go along with all this, yeah, I don't think iPhone is the camera from them because they're not filming their events or their commercials on iPhones. As long as Apple events are not shot on iPhones, then I'm gonna argue they should make their own camera. If they believe the iPhone is the camera, then actually do an event on the iPhone. They won't. Trust me. But anyway, I got to get going. I'm going on a bike ride shortly. So I appreciate you all for tuning in. Thanks for witnessing Universal Control with me. We'll talk more about cars over on Tailosive EV. And I hope you guys have an excellent rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.